hello again, party people. I'd like to tell you about at least my thoughts about a piece of American propaganda I'm really sick and tired of hearing about, and that would be the whole China bad debacle. And while yes, China bad, I would just like to point out it's pretty much mostly propaganda. I'm not a China apologist. Obviously, I despise communists in all their shapes and forms. And if I could, I would cleanse the world myself of every single Chinese person, just period, just to make the world a better place. But sadly, I can't wave a magic wand and do that, so it's too much effort, at least for now. Maybe some other day. But anyways, so how do we know, though, about the level of Chinese propaganda and what it entails? If you've read or paid attention to American politics recently, in one of the bills for the American political system, they put aside $500 million for propaganda funds to try and make the Chinese look bad, right? So the American government is willing to spend $500 million on propagandizing against China. So the reality of the situation is we probably don't even really know what the situation is like in China. It's probably completely different from whatever we've been told. And without going there and physically experiencing it, we probably can't possibly know what's happening in glorious Mao Zedong territory. So, in the grand scheme of things, who really knows? Like, obviously the Chinese do a whole host of propaganda as well, so it's like, one liar versus the other, in essence. But generally speaking, I would put the Chinese capabilities probably a lot higher than what we've been told here in the States, and they're probably a lot stronger economically and militarily than we're aware of. It would not surprise me in the slightest if China was now actually just much stronger than America, just de facto better, and that our government has just been lying to us over the course of X amount of years to try and propagandize to us and hide how far we've fallen behind the Chinese, because, it's very likely COVID did a lot of things to the United States government and put them, in quite the awkward spot just because of our own hubris and stupid policies. Mainly enforced by places like New York with Cuomo and Gretchen Whitmer and all of those murderous, disgusting degenerates. So because of that, and because of the massive amount of, we have our own state media, basically, tool that's specifically made to propagandize against China. And that's just blows my mind when you think about it, the fact that we're willing to spend $500 million, 500 million big ones, on basically trying to lie to our own citizens about China. So, given the fact that we're willing to do that, it makes me want to believe that China is in fact a lot stronger than we currently give it credit for, or a lot more powerful at the very least. And if that's true, then all bets are really off about what are the implications of something like that. But it's pretty crazy to think about, we can't spend $5 billion to protect our own border, but we're willing to, invest how much into, basically what is, outright lying to our own population. Like, the American government is so obsessed with controlling what the American population thinks that it's willing to literally, harm its own people and use their funds illegitimately to get to the point where we can actually do something like that. It just blows my mind. Heckin' wild that we're in that position now. Okay, proof of a hero. But yeah, just imagine, how we can morally say we're better than the Chinese people or somehow superior to them when we're literally spending God knows how much on lying to our own people just to try and make them look bad. All of those videos you see of Chinese infrastructure and people running Chinese people over in vehicles and all of that, how much of that is actually real? Think about it. I was dreaming about this earlier, it came to me in a dream, but what could you do with $500 million of advertising, and what would it look like? And if I was trying to make something that would, get people off of the China bandwagon, it would look exactly like, the industrial disaster sort of shenanigan we make that we're propagandizing about to them. And if that is the case, if, like, we're actually intentionally lying to the American people, deceiving them with untold amounts of propaganda just to try and make the United States look better or something, I don't really get the point of it because, at the end of the day, no matter what we do, China is still going to, militarily beat us very shortly. Like, that's just a fact. The American government now is no longer in a position really to... Oh no. Is no longer in a position really to fight against anyone, period. Like, we've given all of our weaponry to Ukraine. Our military is run by a bunch of social justice mongoloids that don't know, anything about anything, per se. Like, we're not in a good position. Oh, come on. I was on it. No fair. No fair. Yeah, our government is basically, committing another act of degenerate treason against the American people, misusing the funds and the taxes that they steal from you to lie to you. Like, I think that's what rubs me the wrong way so much about it, is the United States government is literally stealing from its own people to lie to them. Like, taxation is obviously theft, and that's a whole nother wormhole and rabbit hole, but just imagine, like, anything the U.S. government says at this day and age. I'm just of the opinion it's probably a lie. Like, and the more I assume that, the more I can't help but think that that's universally true. Are you heckin' serious? So if we can't trust a single word the U.S. government says about China and its capabilities, then we really can't trust anything as far, it would basically mean that we're already at war with China, right? Because the fog of war is already up. And the more I think about it, the more that must be true, that we're already probably in some kind of a hot war with China and we just don't know about it yet. Because why else would we have invested that much? Why would Nancy Pelosi be making, journeys to Taiwan, etc., to try and intentionally inflame the conflict and turn it from, a Cold War into a hot one to get, young American boys killed because, she voted for this, she gets to vote for the opposite sex to die to increase her own power. Haha, funny system, great system. I'm really not a fan of voting in general, but especially not women voting, just because of that reason where they don't suffer the consequences of their actions. They don't have to serve militarily, so, Nancy Pelosi's actions trying to inflame World War III and get untold American men murdered just because, and maybe we're already at a hot war. Maybe, we're all ignorant about what the truth is in the Asiatic sense. Maybe, we're already fighting a war that we can't possibly win. Because we don't beat China in the grand scheme of things, I don't think. Like, anything woke goes to shit is a very famous quote, and it's very accurate. And I think it'll be very accurate for what's incoming. And when we see what happens to our woke military, like, I can't imagine them being, the most devastating fighting force when, literally you can just broadcast their pronouns and have all of the soldiers put down their arms and have to have, like, a mental breakdown. Which is the reality of what would happen if we tried to engage in a war right now against China. Like, it's very likely that, the Chinese, the 300 million strong army of men would simply just wreck us at any given point in time. And I don't think it's going to be close when the actual event does occur. I think the reality of the situation is China is going to eat our lunch, in essence. But it's really, just the way of the world, I guess. Like, the future is this dystopian situation where, our elected leaders steal our money, lie to us, and then intentionally try and, ruin our own population. And while, it's grim to say the very least, I don't really see any other option for us except to just take it. And if that's true, then where do we go from here? we don't really know anything about anything. Like, the American population now can't possibly understand anything about the world if our government exists to propagandize to us at that level where they're willing to invest $500 million into it. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like we're all just circling the drain anyways, and we're going to be speaking Mandarin very soon. And, like, that thought depresses me, and it's, horrible to be ruled under some communist, godforsaken hellhorde, but, at least the Chinese never called me a racist, At least they don't care about that, and hopefully if those ideas die, something better can come from the West, even if it comes out of China. But yikes.